Welcome. We'll give everyone a few more minutes here to join. Thank you for joining so far. We'll get started in just a sec. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining today's training session for our officials as part of our back to school webinars that we've hosted annually for the last 2 years. We've included officials in that this year. We've got a lot of stuff to catch you up on in the officiating world, as well as some exciting new features and functions over in the mobile side of things as well. This is a 4-part webinar series. Today is the first day. We'll be primarily talking about managing your schedule as an official, going through a lot of the schedule features, both in the desktop version of Arbiter as well as over in the new mobile app for officials. The rest of the week, we'll kind of divide things out into different categories. Tomorrow's category will be handling your blocks, so setting your availability as an official, and blocking teams, sites, different things like that. So today's scheduling, tomorrow blocks, and then Wednesday we've got setting up and using Arbiter Pay, followed by Thursday, which we will cover eligibility and registration and how to stay compliant. So today's is managing your schedule. If you've not registered for the other ones, please feel free to go in and register for those other ones. We'll see if we can get that link to you to register for those other ones, but you could also use the link that was sent to you in the original email letting you know about these webinars. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump over into the scheduling piece. We do have the chat and the Q&A disabled, but we will follow up with a survey. If you've got time, please fill out that survey, provide us with your feedback about how we did during this training session and any additional feedback you might have. All right, let's get started. Things as an official, when you do come into Arbiter and sign in using the multi-factor authentication process to get loaded into Arbiter, you're going to have the option to then choose between a bunch of different assigning groups that you might be an official in, or you might only be an official in one assigning group. And if that's the case, we'll send you directly into your dashboard. We've changed things up over the last kind of year as far as how officials can view their schedule and kind of anything related to them as an official. Instead of having to jump between assigning groups like officials have historically had to do in the past, so jump from maybe a football assigning group to a baseball assigning group to a softball assigning group, we've consolidated everything under one dashboard now called My Account. This is where you can go as an official to kind of keep track of everything from all of your different assigning groups. So if you are an official that's spread wide across a bunch of different assigning groups across the state, you could come to this My Account dashboard and now manage everything under one consolidated account. We'll get into the different tabs under the My Account dashboard, but one quick housekeeping note that I want to let you know about is how to update personal information related to you as the user. That can now be done by clicking the profile picture over on the right upper corner and selecting profile. This is going to open up a profile modal where you can kind of manage everything related to you as the user. If you needed to change any personal information, you could do so here. If you needed to make an address or a phone number private or public, you can click on the ellipses next to each one of those fields and either click make private, or if it was public or private, you can make public like you see here with the address. You also have the ability to update information related to sign in, additional information related to you as the user, and any tax related information for 1099 purposes. We'll also include any eligibilities that you currently have as an official on this profile modal. So come here, make sure you've got all the correct information related to you as the user. That's kind of step one in getting things set for the next school year. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the dashboard page itself. This is kind of a new page where we've kind of consolidated everything from your different accounts that you kind of need to take care of when you first log into your account. The first thing I'll mention is the ready to be assigned. This is a key step in making sure that you are ready as an official to kind of start receiving game assignments from an assigner. The assigner might mention, hey, you need to go make sure that you have indicated that you're ready to be assigned. That can be done right here from this dashboard page for any of your assigning groups. So if there's a particular one that maybe you were a new official for this upcoming season and you had not gone in and indicated yourself as ready to be assigned, you could come in here, click that checkbox next to whichever assigning group you needed to do that for, and that's going to uh, update over on the assigner side, letting them know that you are ready to start receiving assignments. A few other things on this dashboard page that I want to point out. You do have access to any central hubs. Central hubs are usually related to registration and eligibility, maybe hosted by a state association that you could be a member of. You do have access to all of the central hubs over on the right-hand side. From there, you've got an arbiter pay summary located in the center top. This is where we're just going to show the current balance of your arbiter pay account if you've got a balance. If you don't have a balance, there's nothing that will be shown there. Beneath that, you've got an upcoming schedule where we'll show the next 5 games on your schedule. If you had more than 5 games, there would be a see more option, which would route you directly to your schedule page. So we'll show up to 5 games here. If you only have 1 or 2 future games, you would only see 1 or 2 in this upcoming schedule. Beneath that is where you're going to see any announcements from any of your groups that you're an official for. So this is kind of as things are coming into the new season, this is a good time for some groups to start alerting people, maybe posting announcements about the upcoming school year, links to registration, or forms that may need to be completed. You can keep track of those announcements here. If you wanted to sort the announcements by your different groups, maybe you have one group that posts a lot more announcements than another, and you wanted to sort by that particular group, you could do so here. So this is really kind of just a consolidated dashboard, high-level stuff that you might be dealing with as an official. Main emphasis on this page is, 1, make sure you're ready to be assigned if you are added to any new groups in the new school year. 2, you can see any announcements that your groups might be making down here. All right, next we'll jump over to the scheduled tab, and that's where we'll be spending most of our time today. All right, on the schedule tab, when you first get loaded into the schedule tab, a few things to make note of initially. Over on the left-hand side, you've got your different display options. The display option that is most commonly used by officials is going to be your list view. This is also the only display option that is going to allow you to accept or decline games. So if you prefer to look at things from a more outward view by day, by week, or by month, you can change to those different displays. So if we go to view by month, it's a little bit more granular, where it kind of shows high level details of those games or any events or blocks that you might have, but you are not able to actually accept any games or events on this view by month. You would have to still go back to list view in order to accept or decline those assignments. So I do want to make note of that. I see that question come up quite often. Why can't I accept games in view by day or view by week? Accept or declining has to be done on the list view page. So I wanted to make note of that. The other thing that I'll make note of before I start going into what's on your schedule are some of the filtering options that you have available to you. These filtering options are to kind of get a more precise list based off of some of the details that you might be interested in. The first one is a time frame or date filter. If you wanted to only see maybe your future events, or maybe you were concerned with the last 7 days because you needed to fill out a game report for a past event, you could filter those by the time frame you're interested in there. The second one here is for groups. So if you're an official that is in a lot of different assigning groups, you could filter for a specific assigning group from here. And maybe you're during football season, you just want to see the groups coming from your football group. You could click that football group here, apply the filter, and it would just show you the games from that particular football group. The next one is for whether to show all events and games, or if you wanted to just see games or just see events. Not sure if everyone on this call is in an assigning group using both events and games, but assigning groups do have the ability to kind of differentiate. And on my schedule, you'll actually see some examples here where I have an event versus a game. So if you wanted to filter for that, that's something you could do. The next one here is for an action step, and it's really tied to have you accepted or not accepted the games. So as we're coming into the new school year, you might be getting a lot of assigned games. And as you're getting assigned those games, maybe you want to filter by those that you've already accepted, or maybe you want to filter by those that you've not accepted and those that you need to then take action on. You could do that here, and it would filter for those depending on which option you chose. The final option here is a new one we've added over the last 12 months, and that's your paid status. This does depend on whether it was paid through Arbiter Pay or not. So if whoever was responsible for paying you paid outside of Arbiter Pay, there's not a way to indicate that just yet of whether it's been paid or not. But if you are receiving payment through Arbiter Pay, you are able to use these options to see who has paid you and who has not paid you if the payer responsible is paying through Arbiter Pay. So wanted to point out some of these filters. This is a good way for you to kind of shrink your list if you're an official that's got a lot of games from a lot of different groups and you wanted to shrink that list, make sure you were focused on maybe the upcoming week in a particular sport, you could do so from here. Okay. Next thing we'll talk about is the actual accepting or declining process. This can be done for both games as well as events. There's a few things to note in the accepting and declining process. One is a lot of the accepting declining process is dependent upon how your assigning group sets up the game. There's both preferences that an assigner can set up that kind of determine how you accept or decline a game. And then there's things related to the specific game that can also determine when you can accept or decline a game. A few things that I want to point out: accept by dates. You'll see those over on underneath the action column here for those games that do need to be accepted or declined. An assigning group can decide an accept by date, and you as an official either have to say, I want to accept or decline that game by that accept by date. If you have not done it by that accept by date, that game is going to get sent back to the assigner. It's going to take your name off of that game, basically tell the assigner you cannot complete that game's assignment. So you'll want to make sure you are paying attention to the accept by date. The other thing some assigners do have set up is what's called auto accept. This kind of takes out the process of either accepting or declining the game and basically accepts the game automatically depending on the assigner settings. I know that assigners sometimes use this when there's kind of an official shortage and they want to make sure that the officials are inputting all their availability, their blocks. And so any games that you're assigned and look like you're available over to the assigners, they're going to assign you for, and you better be available. They put on that auto accept, makes it to where you can't decline the game. If for some reason you did need to decline that game, you'd have to get in touch with the actual assigner on any auto accept games. So if for some reason you see that you've got a new game assignment, but you don't see that you can accept or decline that, there's a good chance that your assigner is using the auto accept feature, which does automatically accept those games for you. All right, so once you are ready to kind of go through the acceptance process on your games, you'll notice that any games that are needing to be accepted are going to be highlighted in kind of this yellow, indicated by new game status under the status column. And then you're also going to see the option to accept or decline if the assigning group that assigned that game does allow you to accept or decline. You can come in here if you are ready to accept or decline, if you don't need any additional game details besides those that are listed on the schedule that you see here. And you can either accept, decline, and click submit. But if for some reason you wanted to see additional details related to that game, maybe your assigner lets you see partners before accepting, or you wanted to know how far it was going to be to that particular game site, you as an official can always come in here, click on the specific game number, and it's going to expand the details of that game, show you the game details. This is another page that what you see will depend a little bit upon what your assigner allows you to see. Some assigners will not allow you to see your partners unless you've accepted the games. Other assigners will let you see partners before you've accepted the game if those partners have accepted their assignment. So definitely some parameters that are determined by the assigner. So you want to make sure that you check with your assigner. Most of you probably are aware of the settings provided by your assigner when it comes to these things, but in this particular case, this football game I'm looking at, the assigner does allow me to view my partners before accepting the event. So I can come in here, I can see that I am 45 miles to this particular site. I can see that I've been assigned the referee position. And then I can see the rest of my crew members. I can see the umpire is going to be Tony Gonzalez. If I needed to get in touch with Tony, I've got his email address, got his phone number. Same goes for the rest of my crew members here. I'll touch on the app in a little bit and a few additional options you've got over in the app. But kind of the same parameters that apply in desktop apply in the app as far as who you can see when it comes to your partners, whether it's before the game has been accepted or after the game has been accepted. That's determined by the assigner, but what you can see in both desktop and mobile is affected by that. Once you are ready to accept the game, you can come in here, click accept, click submit. If you wanted to accept multiple games at the same time, you could do that. If you wanted to accept some games but decline others, you could go ahead and check those. And once you click submit, it's going to then send that status back to the assigner. So whether you decline or accept, that status gets sent back to the assigner. So I'm going to accept this game on the 23rd. We'll let that load. After it loads, notices it put a timestamp on when you accepted that game. And you no longer see the accept or decline options there. We can still come back in here to our game. The only difference that we see from before is where our status now shows accepted instead of notified. And then from there, a few additional things. You've got your game fees here. If you hover over this fees, we're going to show you kind of the breakdown. Let's see if I can get that. We'll show you kind of the breakdown of what the game fee, travel, per diem would be. So in this particular case, it's a $0 game fee, $45 travel fee, and $15 per diem. My guess is the game fee is set as 0 because it's a varsity game, and sometimes varsity games are determined by the gate, and there's not an established game fee up front. So it's probably where that game fee set at 0 comes in play. The other things related to this, you've got your site information. So if you needed directions to the site, you could click here. We'll provide that site information. We'll also provide any site contacts that might be related to that particular site. The same thing goes for the teams involved in the game. So we provide you with the home team contacts. So you can click on that home team, and it'll expand the contacts to show you any contacts related to that home team. The kind of list of contacts is going to depend on how many people have been added for that particular school. Some schools may have 5 different contacts. Other schools may be really built out and have 45 different contacts. So it's really just going to depend on the school there. A few additional details. You've got your sport and level column here. So most often it's going to give you a sport followed by a specific level. Different assigners use sports and levels in different ways. Sometimes you may see a tournament level listed here. It really just depends on kind of how the assigner has things set up. You've got your date and time for when that particular event will take place. You've got your position for any games assigned to you as an official. I mentioned the status column earlier. This will show you any new games you have, any events you have, or if you had any games that had been postponed, rained out, canceled, you would see that particular status listed in this status column here. And then any of those rained out, postponed, canceled games will also highlight the particular row in the corresponding color. So canceled, I believe, shows up in red. Rained out, I think, shows in kind of a blue tint on your schedule. So if you do have different statuses here for games, that'll show in the status column. You've got your group column. This is where the particular game or event is being assigned from. So we'll either list the assigner's group number or group name here, depending on whether they want to show their group name or group number. And then to the left of that, you're going to have the notes column. So for any future games, you'll see a notes column here. This is where you can either come in and leave notes, or a lot of times this is where you'll see notes left by the assigner or one of the school contacts related to the game. If you've got notes related to a game, you're going to see this icon in green. If you have no notes related to the game, you're going to see the icon remain in blue. So if I come into one of these games with green notes, you'll see what those notes are. So this one says this is a preseason scrimmage between Bear River and Cedar City. We will have a running clock in the second half to speed up gameplay. It'll show you when it was posted, who it was posted by, and who it's viewable by. I'll show you a little bit later on in the mobile app where we have added in game notes as well. So those game notes can now be viewed on desktop as well as mobile. So that's a pretty exciting change we've made. The other thing that you would see populated in this notes column is the reports option. You're only going to see the reports option though for past games. My filter right now for this particular set of games is set for future. But if I come in here and I say, show me the last 7 days and apply my filter for that, I'm going to see an additional icon show up under notes for a report. This is going to be related to the game report. This will only show up if you are the kind of crew chief or the lead official on that game. Some of our states do require all officials to fill out a post-game report following their assignment. Other states do not. Other associations do not. So that's another one of those things that's kind of dependent upon the assigner and the assigning group, whether you fill out a post-game report or not. Similar to notes, if you've got a post-game report that's been completed, it's going to show up in green. If you've got a post-game report that's not been completed, it's going to show up with the icon in blue. And you can come in here and start creating that report. What's included on a game report? A few different things. The status of the game. If for some reason the status of the game changed, I know probably 9 times out of 10 that's not the case, but in some of our outdoor sports, you've got those rainouts that definitely start happening in the spring, some of that happening in the fall as well. So if the game status changed and neither the school involved or the teams involved nor the assigner had updated that status yet, you as the official could come in here and update that status. The second thing, and probably the most important thing for others throughout Arbiter, is going to be the score collection. This is where you as an official can come into that game report and document the score of the game. I know we have some states like Washington that actually require all officials to post that score within 24 hours of the game. One key thing to note about the score entry, when you enter the score, that score basically is sent throughout the Arbiter system. So that score is sent over to the assigner, that score is sent to both the schools involved, and that score is also posted on our public-facing platform. So we've got both a desktop version of a public-facing platform as well as a mobile app that fans and the public can go in. They can see specific schedules for teams, and any scores that are entered are then put on that app. So make sure you're reporting those scores accurately if you are filling out those post-game reports, because those do make a difference for not only you as an official, but the assigner, the schools involved, as well as the public that might be going to look for one of those scores. The other things related to game report is where you can indicate kind of the status of the officials related to that game. So whether they were on time, whether they showed up late, or if in some cases they were no-show, you could indicate no-show there. Finally, any game comments that you might want to add to the game reports. I oftentimes see this place used where you might indicate a red flag or a red card had been issued to a player, or perhaps there was an ejection that needs to be documented, or you just wanted to document that it was good, fair play. Both teams participated well. There were no incidents to report. That's something you put in there. Once you're ready, you can come in here, submit that, click save. It'll turn the option to yellow. This is going to also show up yellow over to the assigner, and the assigner can then go in and verify that game report. And once the assigner verifies that game report, that icon would change from yellow to green, similar to how you see this one up here on this game. So that is game reports. Game reports you can also add over on the mobile app. I will get into that in just a little bit when we start talking about the mobile app. So those are kind of the things related to your schedule that you're going to see here. The one thing I didn't touch on that I'll talk about real quick is the events. I talked about how the events are going to show up. You'll see the status that it's an event. You might have groups that are using events. I'd say it's about 50-50 on whether groups use events in Arbiter or not. Events range from anywhere from maybe a training that your group is hosting to maybe a welcome to the season event for any new officials that need to get gear or whatever it might be. You'll see those events show up on your calendar here. And if you need to get the event details, you can click on that event number, get any event details that you'll need here, what the price might be if there is a price associated, any details related to that specific event. With events, there's kind of two ways that an assigner can build those. They can build a elective event, which gives the official the option to either say, yes, I want to attend the event, or no, I don't want to attend the event. If the event's marked as elective, you'll see the ability to accept or decline on your schedule like you do here. The other option is a mandatory event. This is basically an event that the assigner said you have to attend as an official. If the assigners marked something as a mandatory event, we do not give you the option to accept or decline. You will see that event on your schedule. For those elective events, there is a basically unaccept by date. So if you accept it and then decide I want to unaccept it, you have that option on some of the elective events depending on when that unaccept by date would be. So I did want to point that out with events. The other thing I'll point out on this schedule page before I start talking about some of these additional optional tabs up here. Over here on the left-hand side, you do have the ability to pull a report of your schedule. If you wanted that print-off version, hard copy of your schedule, you could come over here to reports and pull off a printed off version of your schedule. You've got Outlook export here. This is if you want to basically add your schedule to Outlook. We also have iCal feeds available to you. I'll get to that in just a little bit when we get to settings tab. And then if you had declined games, you can see which games you had declined by using this report under here. So those are just a few additional options you have there for pulling a few reports available to you. Now I'm going to talk about these sub-tabs that you see under scheduling. These are all going to depend on the assigning groups that you are associated with. Not all assigning groups allow their officials to self-assign. Not all assigning groups allow their officials to see the master schedule. So these 4 tabs you see here are going to be dependent upon the assigning group you're in and whether they give you permission to use that specific feature. Self-assign is when the assigning group gives the officials the opportunity to basically assign themselves to games. An assigner can go in and decide that, hey, this group of games I'm going to send over to the officials, and basically it's a free-for-all. First come, first serve. As long as you have met all the parameters related to those games. So you're ranked high enough for that game, you're eligible for that game. If the assigner does decide to make games self-assignable, they'll show up under this self-assign tab. You can come in here, use different filters for finding the particular set of games. And then once you've got that set of games, you can come down here. In any game that you're allowed to add yourself to, you'll see the go option, and you could click go. Looks like in this particular case, I've reached my daily limit already. So that could be something you run into as an official. If your assigner limits you to maybe 2 or 3 games per day, and you've already been assigned 2 or 3 games, if you try to go self-assign yourself again, you might run into that error message like you saw me have. This is where it's just going to come into play what your assigners got set up, how many games per day they let you do, how many games per team they let you do. All that's going to come into play when self-assigning yourself to different games. Let's see if I change this start. If I get any more here. All right, so it looks like I've reached my limit, so it's not letting me self-assign anymore. If you're interested in self-assigning, I definitely talk to your assigner about that. It takes a little bit of the responsibility off the assigner, gives a little bit more flexibility to them, allows those officials to go in and self-assign. I know that sometimes scares our assigners, but with the ability to kind of set up all the parameters as far as how many games someone could work, what games someone could see depending on their rank, all of those things are things that the assigner can set up. So when it comes to what an official can see, the assigner's got control of that. Attaching yourself to games, this is a lot of times used for like an evaluator or someone that maybe is not the official on the game, but wants to be attached to them. Maybe they are coming and evaluating that particular game in a non-official role. You can come down here and attach yourself to a game. Master schedule, this is one that I see requested a lot by officials. It's going to depend on what your assigning group allows. You are able to toggle between any of the groups that allow you to do one of these tabs over here on the left-hand side. So in this particular case, it looks like the only group that this particular official is a part of that allows master schedule is arbiter test. So I'm not able to click on any of these other assigning groups I'm a member of and view their master schedule. It looks like only arbiter test allows their officials to view the master schedule. Master schedule is just going to show you all the games in that particular assigning groups and some of the details related to those games. It's not going to show you the officials assigned to the games or if there have been officials assigned to the games. All right. Last thing I'm going to mention over on desktop before I jump into some of our mobile updates for the last 10 minutes of this webinar are really things just kind of associated to you as the user in some of your different assigning groups. Over underneath list, this is where you can go to see a list of different information related to your different assigning groups. The first one is going to be an officials tab, where you'll be able to toggle between the different officials in your different assigning groups and view contact information for those officials. The second one is going to be the assigner officers information. So those that are listed as admins in your different assigning groups, their contact information. Third one is going to be any contacts, so any school-related people. And then you've got sites, teams. The one thing about these tabs, these are also going to be dependent upon what your assigning group allows you to see. So you'll see on sites that a few of my groups do allow me to see the sites in their group. Others do not allow me to see the sites in their group. So it's really going to be dependent, like I said, upon what your assigning group does allow. The last important one that I want to make mention of is the forms tab. This is where your assigning group can post any forms related to the group. So perhaps it's a form that must be completed before you can ref any games. Any of those forms would be listed under here. I'm not sure I'm in any groups that have forms. Here we go. There's a couple of dummy forms that we've entered in here. But this is where you would come in, complete those forms if you had any assigning groups that needed you to complete forms. All right, last thing I'll talk about before jumping to mobile, the settings tab. We've updated the settings tab a little bit because we've put a lot more information under that profile modal that I showed at the very beginning of the call. But the things that do remain on the preferences page are the options for receiving notifications. So which notifications you'll receive and whether you'll receive them by email and text, or just by email or just by text. We give you the option for your iCal feed right down here under calendar sync. And then an important one is this tab for sharing here. This is basically you telling your different assigning groups what each one of the different assigning groups can see when it comes to information related to you and what you've been assigned. So you're basically saying that any games from Arbiter Test can be seen by these other assigners here. This comes in play when assigners are needing to assign you to a game. Maybe you're a college official and a high school official, and you wanted your college official to know any high school games you had been assigned. You could determine what would be shared through here. So I just wanted to make note of that real quick. All right, we're going to jump over to mobile. Give me 1 sec to jump over there, and we'll get started. All right, so some quick notes about our mobile app. We have recently gone through a rebuild of our officials mobile app. For those of you who have been around Arbiter for a while, we have had a mobile app that supports our officials for about the last 10 years or so. That app became free about 5 years ago to officials, and we've continued to support that app through today. Over the last 6 months, we have started to rebuild that old officials app into the app that is currently supporting our schools. So over the last 6 months, we've done the rebuild process. First phase of that was rebuilding all of the scheduling tools that were in that old app, building them in the new app. And then phase 2 is doing the same thing, but for payments, making sure we had all that existing payment functionality in the new app from the old app. We're here to let you know that you can download that new app today. We've got basically all existing functionality that was in the old officials app in the new app now, which includes scheduling stuff, payments, and things tied to you as the user. So what that old app could do, the new app can do. And we're going to continue to put stuff in the new app. We've got plans to add eligibility information, to add a notification center. So if you download that app, continue to provide us feedback as we're going to be continuing to build out that app over the next few months. We have removed the old officials app from the App Store. It's something I did want to let you guys know. If you have that officials app already downloaded on your phone or tablet, you'll be able to continue to use that. However, I would recommend you downloading the new app and trying to use that new app. Our plan is on October 1st to deprecate that old officials app, so we'll stop supporting that old officials app come 10/1. That gives us a couple more months to try and migrate all of our users from that old app to the new app, as well as some additional time to build in some additional features and functionality that our users have given us feedback about. To download the new Arbiter Sports app, you're going to go to the App Store. If you type in Arbiter Sports, the app that you're going to want to download is this one that I'm showing here with the red background and the A and S in it. This app is for our schools, it's for our officials, and it also has some functionality in it for the fans in public as well. So once you've downloaded that app, you'll need to sign in using the same process that you would use to sign into the desktop version. We will require users to go through the MFA process because of payment information that's on that app. But once you're signed into the app, you're going to be dropped to a page that looks similar to this as an official. You're going to have 3 tabs as an official. You're going to have your calendar tab, your payments tab, and then your profile tab. Oh, got a little bit too big. And then you're going to have be dropped on your calendar tab here, where you can either manage a month view of your calendar, or if you wanted to, you can click this expandable bar here and either expand or collapse that month view to be a weekly view. So if you were looking at it from a weekly view and wanted to expand to a month view, you would click that bar and expand it. And it's going to show you kind of that month view of your calendar. Underneath that either month view or weekly view, you're going to have your list view. This list view is going to be dependent upon kind of the either week or month that you're showing up here in the top version. So if you're looking at July information, what you see down here should be July information. If we switch over to August and you've got information for August, you'll see August information populate down here. If you start to click on specific dates that have games or events or blocks, we'll jump you to that date on both this calendar as well as the list view. There are a few things that I want to point out on the calendar view. The different dots that you see on your calendar view. Green dots indicate games. If a game has been accepted already, it's going to be a filled in green dot. If the game is still needing to be accepted or declined, it's going to be an unfilled green dot. So if we look at July 1st, we'll see a unfilled green dot as well as a filled in green dot. If we jump to our list view for that particular date, you're going to see here where we've got a game that still needs to be accepted versus a game that's already been accepted. So that's what the different dots for games indicate. And then we've also got blue dots. Blue dots are going to indicate events. I mentioned earlier on when we were going through the schedule page that events are now able to be seen in the mobile app. That's one of the changes we made. So any events that you've accepted will be in a filled in blue dot. Any unaccepted events will be in an unfilled blue dot. So you've got the option, like I said, to expand or collapse to either show a month view or a week view. From there, you can click on one of the particular games. So if I wanted to click on this new game that I've got here, I can click on it, and it's going to expand the game details of that particular game, as well as give me the option to accept or decline this assignment. A few additional things on the game details page. You've got your location. This link right here will take you to whatever maps provider you use on your phone. Underneath that, you've got any game notes related to that game. So this is also a new feature that I mentioned we added to our new app. You did not have the ability to see game notes in the existing app. You do today, and those can be seen here. Underneath that is where you're going to see any contacts related to the game, whether it's site contacts or home team contacts. You'll also see the assigner of the game listed here. In this particular screenshot I'm showing you, you don't see this assigner, but pretend Corey Baxter had made this assignment. You would see Corey Baxter assigner listed here instead of athletic director. Underneath that, you're going to see any payment information related to that game. And then one thing that could be seen here would be the officials information, depending on whether your assigner does allow you to see that information before you've accepted the game or after you've accepted the game. So once you click accept, that dot's going to change from an unfilled green dot to a filled in green dot. And you'll notice we also now have the ability to see our officials. One thing I want to make note of that this app or this screenshot shows is the ability to see pending officials. That's not available. You have to be an accepted official for your partner to see you on the game. But you do have the ability to see the officials information for your partners. You've also got contact information here. So if you needed to contact Chris, you could expand his profile, get his information, contact him. You also have the ability to both email en masse and text en masse. So if you wanted to kind of open a group chat with the different officials, you would see a text icon here and could text en masse. So this is kind of the game details page and the different things related to the mobile app. So that's kind of what I'll touch on for the mobile app today. We'll touch on more additional pieces in the other webinars that we'll be hosting throughout the week. So we'll touch on blocks tomorrow, both in desktop as well as in the mobile app. And then once we get to payments, we'll talk about payments in the desktop as well as in the mobile app. So a lot more conversation to be had regarding the mobile app. If I were you, if you joined today's webinar, download that app. That way you'll know what we're talking about as we go throughout this week in the different topics that we've got available to you. Last thing I'll mention on the mobile app before we end today's call, if you needed to filter for particular events or blocks, you can come up here to this kind of funnel you see. That is the filter option, and you can filter your schedule for different parameters, either games you've accepted, games you've not accepted. If you just wanted to see games on your schedule, just wanted to see events on your schedule, you can come up here to this filter option and filter your schedule. That is what I've got for today's webinar. I really appreciate you guys joining. Please make sure if you've not signed up for the additional webinars that we'll be having this week, please make sure to go in and register for the additional webinars. We've got blocks tomorrow, kind of all things payments on Wednesday, and then we'll end things on Thursday talking about eligibility and registration as an official. So we'll wrap things up with that. I really appreciate you guys joining. We look forward to talking more with you throughout the week. Thank you.